is Wrestling Republic. Wrestling Republic. This is Wrestling Republic. Wrestling Republic. This is Wrestling Republic.
What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Thursday, February the 6th. I'm stoked to be here. We're going to break down AEW Dynamite today. All kinds of good things to talk about. And I've got the original Thursday crew hanging out with me. The old school two-man. We could call it a throwback if we really wanted to. Head of opinions, Anthony Ricciardi. What is going on, my friend? How are you out in Philly today? Rocking the jersey. I see it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Clark, this is a rematch. This is on the verge of the rematch on Sunday. So this is kind of a throwback Super Bowl-esque show that, you know, old school very much, covering Dynamite. I'm sure we'll disagree with stuff. We're going to have some fun today.
100%. We are going to have a blast. Oh, wrong one there.
I know
Still
it's been a while.
one. Which one is the right one?
Hold on.
It's this one. I found it. We're back.
I
I was just trying to take the Eagles jersey off the screen for as long as I can. I'm totally kidding. Everyone knows I'm a Chiefs fan here.
I could totally leave right now. Make you do a one-man show. You know that, right?
Monster shout out, my dry cleaners. Usually very reliable. Unfortunately, my jersey still being
I'm gonna guess they're an Eagles fan. They didn't want you to have the jersey for the
I
show.
don't think that's what it was. Honestly,
I think that's what it was.
I got so much barbecue sauce on it celebrating the Bills win that I think it was more worth than they deserve.
They're just gonna
come on
back.
me, guys.
They're just gonna come back to you going, it would be cheaper for you to buy New Jersey.
I've still got my Chiefs red on though. We got numero one Superfly with hello. What's going on, numero one? Let's get into today's show. We could break down the Super Bowl all afternoon. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited about it, but
UK people won't like it.
We'll talk about that post show. Let's talk about the artists formerly known as the what were they again? The United
Empire.
Yeah. At Wrestling Republic, anything Empire related, we should probably remember, given like the Star Wars tie-ins.
Yes.
The Star Wars tie-ins between Republic and Empire. Like, I almost accidentally called them the Undisputed Era. That is not those guys. Same initials though. Same initials. I was on the right track.
They were also Aussie Open. Was Davis and Fletcher.
That's my alarm that said, like, absolutely, you better be live by now, by the way, if anyone caught that in the background. That one's on me.
I didn't even catch it, but go ahead.
So Mark Davis, former tag team partner of Kyle Fletcher,
mm-hmm.
turns on Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
But the why here, I don't understand, because Kyle Fletcher has broken out as a single star. If the why was to reunite those two as a tag team once again, okay. But that's not what it is. That is not what we're witnessing, Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
Can you put a cherry on a gross sundae for us, or is this as weird as I thought it was?
I could pull out my reliable shovel, as always. No, in all seriousness, that's what frustrates me most about AEW. And I know people are going to go, oh, he's an AEW hater. No, I want them to succeed. But the problem with this is that there's not consistency with storytelling. There isn't. There are times when I watch this show, this in particular, the Mark Davis thing, where, you know, he was on Ospreay's side when Fletcher turned on him, and it was a whole thing. And then out of nowhere, suddenly Don Callis owns his contract. Like, where did that come from in all of this? I swear, when I watch this show at times, I feel like you need to be on drugs for it to make sense, because it doesn't. It's not consistent. This is another one of those angles where it's like, oh, I'm shocked. Yeah, it would be shocking that Mark Davis is now with Don, because it doesn't make any sense. None of it does. That's the problem with this. Was the match okay? I got to be honest. I'm not a Mark Davis guy. It didn't really do anything for me. You knew Ospreay was going to win because Mark Davis is essentially, and I don't mean this in a nasty way, but he's a nobody. As far as a single star, he's a nobody. So he's not going to beat Ospreay going into this thing anyway. It was what it was, but again, made no sense. That's the nicest way I could say this.
That is the oddest thing for me too, though, Anthony, when it comes to this. is if you look at Mark Davis at the height of his importance, it was alongside Fletcher
Yes.
and Ospreay.
Yes.
So if you match him up against Will and have him turn on Will, I don't know, because without the numbers advantage with his former partner, Fletcher, which would at least that might make it logical. Like, listen, we've all been buddies. Now it's like
here's the thing. You know, Don said on commentary, I own Davis's contract. So it's reluctant. But to the audience in the crowd, in the arena, they don't know any of this.
Right.
So and for the most part, if you miss that one little point of commentary, you're like, well, why is Davis fighting Ospreay? Like, it was so minute and it didn't make much sense. Don has an entire stable of people.
Right.
That's already established.
Yes.
Of his people. Now, if you would have had, I don't know, Archer against Ospreay, for example, and then Davis comes out and attacks Ospreay, then you could have Don on the microphone going, I owned his contract. He didn't want to do this, but it was either, or even have Don come out when he initially brought him out and saying he doesn't want to fight you, but I own his contract. You say it when you're on commentary when nobody in the audience hears that? Yes. It didn't make any sense. Like, again, it's still far-fetched, but at least it would have set a template for people to know, hey, this is why.
Yeah, I agree. We've got a few really interesting comments to run through here. And one of them, I like this, provide a little levity, just because, we don't want to over the top bury it.
No.
Rate My Wrestling said, depends on what happens next. They said he got brainwashed, not necessarily a good story, but at least a story behind it. And you know what? I actually do like that attitude because I hate let it play out. I hate all those cliches. But I like viewing it through that lens because it at least does give it a chance to unfold, for lack of a better way to put it. The start wasn't perfect. Now we've got a few other ones. Numero One Superfly added, it feels so random for Mark Davis to turn on Will. But like all that fighting Mark did against the family ended up being for nothing. It doesn't help him either.
It's the two things that's weird, because either A, he's forced because they sort of tried to lay that groundwork.
Right.
You can't make that argument and also say he's brainwashed. If he's brainwashed, he's willingly going along with it.
Yeah, they're two different things.
You need to pick a lane. Which one are you going with and run with it?
If you're going to tell a Stockholm syndrome story, tell a Stockholm syndrome story.
Yes.
Right? Like, absolutely do that. Now, Fernando Zayas said this match was fire. The match itself, yes, of course, Mark. And he said Mark Davis is underrated as well. I would agree with both of those. The match itself was awesome. Mark Davis is excellent bell to bell. It felt clunky, for lack of a better way to put it. Not the match, the idea of how we got to where Mark Davis turns.
Here's the other weird part of this. You're building up Ospreay and Kenny tagging against Don's family.
Right.
Why would you waste doing Mark Davis now and not have him show up at the Australia show? And that's when he screws Ospreay, because why would you reveal it now? Because the shock value should be there on the big show, right?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm sorry. This comment completely threw me for a loop. And Fernando Zayas, great friend of the show, always awesome in the comments. But he said, I'm very happy Aussie Open is still kind of together. And my brain just short-circuited, and I read it because it's spelled like Ozzy Osbourne and not
you were thinking
Australia, A-U-S, right? And I just I'm like, wait, what is he? Oh yeah, Davison.
You're like, did Tony Khan play Ozzy Osbourne
completely short-circuited on me. Yeah. That is my fault, Fernando. But yes, that is one of the biggest positives coming out of this, no doubt. Especially because I've complained for a long time about the state of the tag division in all companies, not just AEW. This is not an exclusive complaint to AEW. Aussie Open is legit. That is different to me than the two single stars that are Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher. If this is a push towards an Aussie Open tag run, I'm all over that. That I don't mind because they're both so dang talented, but it does also feel like a half a step back.
To me, it's a half a step back for Fletcher because you've made this effort to try to push him as a single star.
Right.
It's a step back for him to do it now. It would be like the equivalent of Shawn Michaels starting his singles career and having success and then going back to Marty Jannetty.
Absolutely.
Like in the midst of that. Like it's not the right time. Eventually, yes. I would say, yeah, you could do that.
100%. And we've got Fernando also in the comments with this one. Agree 100%. This should have been saved for the Australia show.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would agree.
You're too close to it. It makes sense to just wait.
Yes, and it is obviously a little different with the way the Australia show has been changed. I'm wondering if this was a plan. Had it been the stadium show we anticipated it being?
The pay-per-view, yeah.
Right.
And the stadium show, yeah.
In the stadium, right?
Yeah, no, but it was it's one and the same. The moment they I know they said, oh, it was always a plan not to do a pay-per-view. I feel the moment that the tickets were not selling for the stadium and they had to move it, that's when that's when it dropped pay-per-view. That's my personal opinion, because I think if you're going to Australia and you're booking a stadium, you're doing a pay-per-view. Like, I'm sorry, that's written in right there. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yes, absolutely. Speaking of the tag division, though, let's keep it rolling. Let's talk about the return of the Guns. And here's something interesting to me. The Guns, I think, have outplayed their potential in AEW thus far and deserve credit for that. I did not view them as the viable threat that they became.
Yeah.
And that credit's due where it's due. I already brought up that I've just dragged the tag division in every company through the mud of late. Stack it back up. I don't mind it. Hurt Syndicate's on fire. I just don't know for sure who fans are going to want to root for, because it does feel like there's this groundswell of support for the Hurt Syndicate almost no matter what they do. And I'm wondering if this is an avenue to capitalize off of that, or if we have the Guns being cheered. I'm not entirely sure. Anthony, let me get your thoughts on that. And then the tag team division as a whole, we got to have legit threats here at the top, and at least the Guns have a resume that appears to be that. That would be the one major positive I would say coming out of this.
I mean, the Guns have it in their genes. With Billy Gunn as their father, which is one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time. He has tag team gold with Road Dogg as the Outlaws, had tag gold with Chuck, had a tag gold with his brother Bart back in the day. So it's in the genes, and I always forget. I always get them mixed up which one's which, but the tall one, I swear, reminds me of Billy every time I say him. So it is very hard to get out of Billy's shadow when you look so much like Billy.
Colton?
I think he
Colton
might be
that looks the one more like him.
Yeah, the tall one. And I don't. I always mix the two of them up, Colton and Austin. Which one's
I
which?
flip the names every time.
Yeah, so do I. So, but I know it's the tall. I always say the tall one. No, but it is kind of funny where I want to see them what they're able to do with the tag division. The problem is AEW needs to be focused on the tag team division, and at times I don't feel that they keep much focus on anything. And I'm not just trying to do this a burial of AEW. I'm hoping for the best. Would they go with the Guns? Maybe, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like I would keep the belts on Hurt Syndicate and have teams chase it until you're sure of what team is the next one that should get it. You don't just do it just to do it. It should mean something. So I wouldn't just give it to the Outrunners because, it's a fun gimmick. Like, it really should mean something. It should elevate them. It should elevate the division. So then Hurt Syndicate can go off and do other things, whether go for a world title, whatever. And the tag division could focus on legit tag teams. The Guns, Private Party, possibly the Bucks if they ever come back into play. FTR, Outrunners and whatever. That's where your focus needs to be. Honestly, I wouldn't give it to the Bucks again. Like, it's enough with the Bucks. Like, you need to establish other teams.
There needs to be like a break between the next big Bucks run.
You've lost some teams. You broke up the Acclaimed, which again, they lost their steam anyway. You lost the Lucha Brothers, which was huge.
You've lost Proud and Powerful long ago.
Yeah, so you've lost a lot of the foundation teams. SCU, obviously, that was another one.
How about Jurassic Express?
Yeah, so
the Best Friends.
So you've lost a lot of teams. So it's going to take time to build it up. Hurt Syndicate is a safe team to have the belts with while you're trying to build that up. But it's going to take time. Whether or not people have patience, whether or not AEW has patience, is time to tell. I'm hoping the Guns to succeed. I'm very curious of where they go from here as a whole, because do you bring in somebody like Danhausen, which off screen has ties to him, and kind of have him as a manager to kind of play it up? You could, but obviously Danhausen's in this quasi blackballed position. I don't know, because he's friends with Pepsi Phil. I don't know. Just random speculation, because guy's under contract and no one's using them. And I can't think of any other reason, because he ain't injured. So I don't know, but I would like to see what the Guns do. If the Guns eventually are the ones that dethrone them, right, you can make a run. You could make that believable. You can make that work, but they shouldn't beat them immediately. Like, it should be drug out to, I don't know, maybe All In Texas, maybe, or maybe a little prior to that. Maybe I'm just spitballing here with that.
Absolutely. I hear you. I mean, okay. We've got some really fun comments here that I want to talk about that I like a lot. One of them was from our good friend Fernando, and he said, it will be a very good tag team match, but the Hurt Syndicate will get the win. I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But then this one is what I really like. Eventually, the Hellhounds are going to win tag championships. And then same thing, what if the Hounds of Hell become the team to dethrone the Hurt Syndicate from numero one Superfly? That's the squad.
That's not a bad
That's
move.
the team.
That's not a bad move to do.
Yep. That is the one.
I have no problem with that. But you need to lay the foundation of teams, because you don't want the same thing over and over again. So I am completely fine with them building up teams so that you have a tag division that matters.
It would be fascinating if finally Brody King and Buddy Matthews get pushed. Sans Malachi Black. After all of this time, you had like one of the most legit trios there is. And so you drop the biggest name in the group.
Yeah.
And you take the other two who everyone appreciates talent-wise, have them be a tag team, and they finally do get their run. That is just odd to me, but I do appreciate it.
I mean, listen, Brody's had tag gold before. Not just in he had the 6-man in AEW, but he had it in Ring of Honor with PCO back in the day. Right. But Brody, to me, is somebody, and I've said this before, some people disagree with this. He's a guy you should be getting behind as a single star. Honestly, he's got something unique, and that is a believable look, which is not common in wrestling these days at times. When you look at Brody, you're like, he looks like a legitimate, he can terrorize people. Like, he has that look. When I look at Brody King, okay, that guy is believable. But on the other spectrum of that, if you look at somebody like, and this is no disrespect, but Zack Sabre Jr., for example, to me, I would think Brody looks more believable as a physical threat than Zack Sabre does, for example. And there are other people that I could name too, but it's just, there's a believability. And that's why somebody like a Brock Lesnar back in the day, why he was so successful is because he looked like a legitimate threat. That was part of the mystique that made Brock work. He tore through opponents, and he was believable. And I feel like Brody has that. I'm completely fine with him getting a tag run if you want to establish a tag division, but like, he legitimately needs a singles run. Like, I find him more believable physically than a Daniel Garcia, for example, that has the TNT title. Like, and that's not a knock on Daniel Garcia, but like, if you're comparing the two, Brody looks legitimately
that way.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
I mean, they're different styles.
No,
but by comparison, Brody King is so
visual.
unique.
Just visually.
Right. They're completely different styles, but he's so unique. To your point. And there's an argument to be made. He's equally talented inside the ropes.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a scary combination. The fact that, this is a great comment from Fernando. Brody has Batista potential.
Yeah.
I kind of think so too.
And here's the thing. Brody is, and I don't know what Brody's age is, but I believe he would be significantly younger than Batista was when he got the run. I would think.
In
Because
an
I think
interesting
Batista
way,
was in
too.
like his 40s
He was.
when he got the run. I think Brody's maybe mid to late 30s, I would guess. Maybe he's
Santino Bros trained, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Shout out LA.
but I think one of the coolest things was the Battle Royal at one time. And I've mentioned this multiple times to you, Clark, probably off air. But when he won it, and it was by choking out
The rear
Darby
naked choke
and
over
just
the rope.
and just dropping Darby like a
The
rag doll.
violence.
Like, again, that's a visual stuff connects with an audience.
I'm such a UFC guy. Like the star defining moment for John Jones. He'd already, he had won the title, and his biggest test was Lyoto Machida. And he got a guillotine choke against the cage standing.
Yeah.
And very similar to the dropping.
Yeah.
Darby Allin, that was the moment. It was like he choked out Lyoto Machida. Machida went out on his sword.
Yeah.
He refused to tap. So he went out cold, and Jones just dropped him into a heap of himself.
Yeah.
And that was the moment we were like, oh no, that's the baddest guy in MMA.
It's visual. It's not so much what they can do. It's
visual
it's
and
perception.
It's visual, but it's also visceral.
Yes.
Right? You could not know who these guys are, and you're like, how can anyone beat him?
Yeah, it's all about presentation and visuals in wrestling.
100%.
Think about the things that catch your eye. Sting, the face paint. Undertaker, the music. Kane, same way. Mask, music. Bray Wyatt.
Braun Breaker moving so fast for his size.
I mean, an absolute perfect example. Royal Rumble. Braun Breaker doing that spear in the Rumble match against the YouTube star, the Speed guy. Like, he broke 100%. Him in half. Like, but that's what was replayed because of the visual was just so unbelievable.
Yes. It makes perfect sense. Absolutely. All right. Though, speaking of things that make perfect sense, and I want everyone to check this out. No matter what type of phone you have, you can download this app on the App Store. Download the Etsy app, either the App Store on the iPhone or the Google Play Store if you got an Android and you're the green text in the group chat, bugging everybody else. Head over to the upcoming stream section, because this Saturday, we're going to do a Royal Rumble review. It's going to be dope. There's going to be giveaways. Nothing better than giveaways. You can jump on and argue with us if you want, if you've got an opinion. It's going to be a blast, and that's going to be at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, the West Coast here in the States. That's, of course, noon 12:30 p.m. over on the East Coast. That's going to be 5:30 in the afternoon in the UK. And best of all, 6:30 a.m. for my friends in Hawaii. Check that out. Head over to the App Store or the Google Play Store. Download the Etsy app. Get ready for the live stream. You're going to love it. And you may win some cool prizes. Who doesn't like that? It's like a carnival and a show at the same time.
Noon 30.
Yeah, you know.
Really?
I'm a Midwest hick. Come on. Give me a break.
I've never heard that term, but okay.
Okay. Yeah, noon and a half is what I used to say. But it's noon and it's at high noon and a half. But
okay.
We have Toni Storm. I love Toni Storm so much. It tickles me, everything she does with all of this character work. I think by comparison to anybody else, if this was at a different time or different place, it would be celebrated even more. I think it's going to be celebrated when it's over more than it is during, because it is pushing things. Similarly to Mick Foley, getting criticism about the faces of Foley and about changing characters and about doing all of that. One thing Foley didn't do, though, is incorporate this whole acting thing into the gimmick. The fact that she was going to play the role of her rival. And in the cosplay, it was as close as you could ask. Like, with the makeup, the amount of work that went into it, using the moveset. I think it's so unique and so stunning. It was a little bit hard to swallow. It was almost distracting from what was happening. But dang, is she awesome. And I love it. And you know what I love the most about Toni is she's super not afraid to try stuff. Even the hot new upstart thing, the gimmick. in the first place doing the timeless gimmick, I respect it immensely because there's a lot of wrestlers with a great look and that are supremely talented that get stuck because they're not afraid to try things. And that is a trait that is absolutely admirable when you have Toni Storm on your screen, because she's fearless when it comes to that. She believes in herself and she believes she can make it work. And I'll tell you what, all in all, I think it worked last night. I really did appreciate it. The effort alone, man. I mean, if you look at I saw the video of the before and after with the makeup and the extensions, it's pretty incredible. You know, I did that episode on Halloween a couple years back and did the Sting face paint, man. And I sat in the makeup chair. It took me forever to get it off. Right, like it took 2 days for me to wipe it off of my face.
I would get texts from Clark, and he would still have raccoon eyes.
But the other part of that equation, though, that people forget is I was an hour and a half in the chair for that. I can't imagine what it took to get Toni Storm to be able to execute that look. I dig it. I think it's fun. We need to see more of this, but I also think the other thing is, Mariah May got really over in that big win against Toni and carrying the belt now in her own way as a heel. Toni outshines her now. Again, when Toni is being Toni, she outshines her. And so I don't know if it's necessarily beneficial that Toni Storm now comes back in and just takes that title right back. But she's so good, it's kind of undeniable. So it's a really tough, like, mental debate, push-pull thing for me between the two of who really deserves to carry that belt at this stage. Because I was also very impressed by the fact that Toni Storm in some ways made Mariah May. Now, Mariah May made herself. She was awesome during that run and has been, but Toni really got her over by playing her role. Now that Toni's back and it's electric again, I don't know how you keep the title off of her. Let's talk about all of it, though. Anthony, what were your thoughts?
All right, some of this may be controversial, but I'm always honest with these things. I've enjoyed the Toni Storm timeless character, and the turn. I understood why they did it. You know, they did once again in the UK. Oh, we got to give it to a hometown person. They did it with Saraya, which was a failed run. And I don't think the Mariah run, from a booking standpoint, has been as good as it should have been. And that is a problem I've talked about before in wrestling as a whole. It's a problem where it's all about the chase, and then when the person wins the belt, it's almost like creative goes, all right, now I don't know what to do. You got it. Now what? And that seems to be a problem. The Toni return as the old gimmick, and they did the amnesia thing. I got to be honest, that to me felt too soap opera-y. Like, you know, you're kind of waiting for somebody like, oh, they're in a coma and they woke up. Like, that's it. That's what it reminds me of. But I think if you were going to do that, I feel like they rushed it. Like, I feel like that you could have drugged that out for a while if you really wanted to go, and maybe she bumped her, and maybe something happened.
I don't want to cut you off, but here's why I think last night is the only reason I'm really okay with how it went down is, if you remember what she exactly said in the promo, it was, you thought I wouldn't remember.
Yeah.
And the idea that then she went and played Mariah, she's an actress.
Yeah.
That's the character. And that's where I'm like, at least compared to other storylines in AEW, dots were connected there. Was it a little bit rushed? Was it sooner than I anticipated? 100%.
I would have personally, instead of having her come back as the old Toni Storm, I would have had, if you were going to rush it, because obviously you did because you wanted it for the Australian show. I get it. That's why you did it. Maybe you should have just brought her back as Mariah May the entire time. And she's playing the role.
But then that takes away from the idea that she's an actress, right? Because remember, she played her old self.
No, but she's doing the role of her career, in that I could play Mariah May better than you can.
Right.
And that's, to me, the angle you could have done with, because doing I'm pretending to be myself, and then I'm going to portray you, who kind of was cosplaying me in the first. It gets a little convoluted.
But
if
it's where it goes back to the performance of the lifetime thing.
Well,
that needs to be the T-shirt, though. That's the way you can connect those dots, because I think we're closer to the same page than we're even both realizing.
Because I think what you could have done with this, and now hear me out with this. She came back as Mariah May and denied that she was Toni Storm.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, no. Then you go, is she nuts? But then she finally reveals that, like, I was playing the role of my lifetime. I played the role better than you. I am the best Mariah May. To me, that is a better story to be told than playing your old self and then playing Mariah. Like, to me, it would be cleaner if she would have done it that way. And I think I would have had more interest in going, okay, did she lose her mind? Like the old actress, like you said, Sunset Boulevard. It would have fit more. Yeah. Did her loss break her, or is she playing the part?
Right.
Like to me, that's a much more interesting story than kind of how they played it out.
I think they're close. I don't mind how it's been played out, but I do hear where you're coming from. I do love this though. It from Fernando, it was never memory loss. It was a performance. She was timeless the entire time. I think that's fair. I think that's the part where I'm like, I'm okay with it, but I also get why. You know what? I think this is where I'm very much in agreement with you. I do think it needed to take a little longer.
To me,
for the reveal. That's it though. But with Australia coming up, it's hard.
But if you knew you were rushing it to Australia, instead of doing the layer of playing her old self, she should just went straight Mariah this entire time, and you could kind of run. I think that would have been a cleaner story, personally.
Absolutely. Okay, let's get into our main event of the evening. Before we do, really quickly, one of the comments here, Brendan Dillinger, I just want to ask you if your parents named you Brendan on purpose or if they misspelled Brandon. But either way, let's talk about Ricochet and Swerve Strickland.
I'm sure there's some regrets either way.
Mr. O'Shea. Mr. O'Shea, my favorite Irish wrestler, picks up the victory against Swerve. And I thought it was whose house? Maybe it's Rick's house at this stage. I don't know. I don't know here. I like a lot of things Ricochet has done. He's put himself out there. I like the way he was also even self-deprecating. He's leaned into I just want to get booed badly. He doesn't care.
I just don't think he's good at it.
It's a little different. That's the hard part. Is it does feel like he's like learning on the job.
Here's the thing.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, but you can't. AEW has this perception with Jericho and Ricochet. Doing cringe just for the sake of doing cringe does not make it entertaining. It's just cringe. Like I don't mean to be burying this right from the start. I don't mean to cut you off with this thing.
No, because it was a good match.
But the match was.
I think even you would admit the match was excellent.
Listen, Ricochet's problem has never been in the ring.
Never. His
problem has always been he can't cut a promo if his life depended on it. He's not good at it at all. And I know people are like, oh, well, Samantha should come in. Listen, I like Samantha. She's one of the greatest ring announcers of all time. Here's the thing. It wouldn't make sense that she's coming in other than, she's with Ricochet in real life. But if she's able to come in, now granted, all she's done so far is ring announce. She hasn't cut promo. She's not in the business. If she's able to come in and cut a better promo than him, who's been in this business, 15, 20 years, how well does that make him look? That makes him look even worse from a talent standpoint. Like your girlfriend can come in, or wife, I don't even know if they're married these days. Are they married, or are they just, or what are they?
I honestly don't know the marital status.
Whatever.
They're very much together.
They're together. But if she's
married.
Yeah, I don't know. So if she's able to come in, and outperform him, that makes him look worse. If she did, that just makes her look like a bigger star.
Oh, then, there you go. Thank you, Fernando. Engaged.
Okay, thank you.
Fiance.
Yes, but my point still stands. It doesn't help him at all. I think his problem with this is if he was going to fully embrace this heel character, you need to change up. Your in-ring style needs to change. Your look needs to change. Throughout this, he has appeared on the shows looking exactly the same, wrestling exactly the same, music was the same. The week he cut up Swerve, he's at the New Japan show, like nothing. Like there was no change.
Yeah.
You if you're going to do this, you got to fully lean into it. The style needs to change. There needs to be an evolution. If you look at a match, the infamous Super J Cup match with Ricochet and Ospreay, you look at Ospreay today, that's a completely different performer. In the ring, on the mic, everything.
Evolved.
You look at Ricochet, there's not much difference. And that's the problem. There's no evolution. The ones that succeed in this business are the ones that are able to constantly evolve and stay ahead of the curve. You know, I would love for him to succeed with this, but what I am seeing is exactly what I was afraid of. The golden scissors are more over than he is because he's not able to play this character to really, truly go toe-to-toe on the mic with Swerve. I saw the thing from, I guess, the Collision or something like that, and they were sitting across from one another. And Ricochet's like, I'm not good at this.
I actually dug that.
Yeah, but that doesn't. But how does that help you as a character?
You know, I think the admission of it wasn't in a sympathetic way. It was like it came across to me at least enough like, I don't want to be here. I don't care about this. As I would have rephrased it. I would have rephrased it, Anthony. Let me right? I would have rephrased it. But I do get the intention there. But that's where I go back to what I was kind of saying earlier. I feel like the heel stuff, he's learning on the job. He'd never considered it. It's not natural for him. Does that mean he cannot be a very good one? Absolutely not. I don't think it was ever natural for John Cena to be a heel, and he was as good at that as anybody.
Listen,
as the doctor of thugonomics.
Listen, I suggested this before. Forget Samantha. You have one of the most brilliant minds in the business backstage working there. There was a top heel in this business and knows how to talk on the mic.
Yeah.
Have Jake Roberts be his manager.
Yes, sir. It's a great call.
He knows how to cut promos that sound like a serial killer. And that fits this. If Ricochet can't cut the promo, which we know he can't cut a promo, then get the guy who's the best at it to cut the promos or to at least train him on how to do it.
I want to run through a couple comments really quick. So we've got the match was fire, and then both men have fantastic chemistry, which I 100% agree with. And then
I do not disagree in the ring at all.
The right person wanted to keep the story going.
Yes.
This is where I have the issue, though. I don't know if the story needed to keep going because Swerve at his finest is absolutely vicious despite being a babyface.
Yeah.
And Ricochet as a heel cannot out-vicious Swerve. And we're not looking to get Ricochet any sympathy at the moment. And the idea of how Swerve gets his comeuppance post this makes me nervous. That just makes me nervous because Swerve needs to be that guy that really gets after everybody else and really gets after Ricochet and whatnot. I don't know.
You need to be. They need to be able to match viciousness,
right?
And on the mic, we know if Ricochet's going against Swerve, it's laying a lamb to slaughter. You're not going to be able to go toe to toe. It's like going to toe to toe with MJF on the mic. It 100%. Ain't going to work unless you can hold your weight. Ricochet cannot. In the ring, he's great, but again, his style should change to match a Sinister style.
Yes,
and I don't feel that that's there.
This is another one that's really interesting to me, Anthony, before we head out of here, though.
Also, I don't think he should have won cleanly. If you want to drag this out,
cheat.
Yes.
Cheat, you cheater. No, I'm kidding. But the sincerely, my entire the more I've thought about Ricochet and this run in AEW,
there was the low blow.
There was the low blow,
yeah.
But even then, this entire run, you know what I've kind of thought? We should have put a mask on Ricochet because you were talking about changing his look, and that's hard to do. Put a mask on Ricochet until and make it obvious that it's him, and make that a part of the heel persona. Make it obvious that it is Ricochet. Let him talk so you can hear him through the mask. Let him do all of the Ricochet stuff, but he won't let you know that it is him. That's the way this should have been done.
You know what you could have done? and I'm spitballing, this is rogue booking on the spot here.
Yes.
Ricochet loses last night to Swerve. Let's say we do that. Ricochet snaps. And they do a promo vignette. You don't see him do it, but let's say he's cutting himself with the scissors. And then the next time you see him, he's got a mask on.
Right.
With Jake as his manager. And you almost have a Paul Bearer Kane dynamic in that, is he really scarred? Or you could have Jake say he's scarred and he's not. It's a mental thing. Again, this is stuff that you can kind of do. And Jake could talk for Ricochet.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how you extend this rivalry of going, well, how sick is he? Like, you know, that's when you really do it. But having him win, I don't know.
He won.
It's a little bit harder to pivot because he's already gotten the win.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. 100%. I'm in agreement. But with that does bring us to the end of today's show. Thank you so much, everybody that tuned in. We really appreciate it. If you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. That's going to be noon Pacific, 3 o'clock on the East Coast, 8 o'clock in the UK, and of course, 9 a.m. for my friends in Hawaii. On behalf of me and Anthony, we'll talk to you soon.
Go Birds.